let's get into a little bit about your background, what you're about, how you got here, and then why you think engineers they seem to be skilled for something that you wouldn't think an engineer would be skilled to do.
Right, Aaron. Well, my background is biochemical engineer, so I had that training in biochemistry, but I didn't use it much over my career, really, the biochemical stuff. But I was basically involved for 30 years nearly in complex problem solving. So leading teams of engineers in multifactorial problems, which can get really, really difficult because there's many factors and they're all interacting. And I spent the last 15 years in people management, managing teams of engineers. And I was still, when there was a major issue in my corporation, I would still drop out of my management role and lead the big teams. When problems got really big or very expensive. So I think the reason engineers are good at this is because a large proportion of them, compared to the public, are skilled in the technical arts of problem solving, analytics, comparative analysis, and I could go on and on all these tools of logic and physics to get to the bottom of complicated multi-factor systems.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the problem you were trying to solve there in the beginning? What started you on this path?
Well, my problem didn't appear to be a huge one at first. I got some standard blood tests. I had no particular issue. And I came back with 3 measures that were pretty high. And the doctor was very good, went through the measures. One was cholesterol, was a bit high. And I didn't know much about that, only that it was bad, right? And the other 2 were serum ferritin, which is a test for the iron loading in your blood, and gamma glutamyl transferase, GGT, and that's a liver enzyme. And the last 2, the ferritin and the GGT, were super high. So the population level, I was kind of twice the upper end. So I knew as an engineer looking at these, I didn't know exactly what they meant, but I thought, wow, that's special. That's a special cause. That's not just I'm on one end of the population. I knew instinctively that that's a big deal at some level. And because they were standard blood tests, it wasn't like she gave me or he gave me weird blood tests and they might not mean anything. There's a reason they do these blood tests, because they're important. So long story short, I couldn't get any answers from the doctor on what would cause these to go up. I got very weak answers. And I couldn't get an answer on how important they were. And I was kind of shocked because I thought the doctor would just say, okay, these are important. They mean this in the future. And here's the few causes that could drive them up in your life. Go off and fix these things. I got none of that. So I went to another doctor, more experienced, actually someone I know, and we went through it and he didn't really know much more. And then I went to a very senior person and I didn't get much more. So I knew there was something massively wrong. I had no question in my mind. So I began to research in the medical databases, because with a biochemical degree and 30 years of problem solving and data analysis and all the other tools, I knew I could go in there and find out the answers, and I did.